The API cleanup pass is nearly finished, but before I push forward with the cleanup, there is one little thing I'd like to add to this API. In particular, I set up the rotation feature specifically saying it would allow me to use line segments as one of the tools in this toolkit. Now, to expose that possibility a little more directly, what I want to do is add a segment helper function to the user-facing part of my render layer. So let's see how it goes. The plan is simple. A user will submit me two endpoints and a radius and a color. The radius will tell me how much thickness to put on the line. In particular, it'll take a circle of that radius, and sweep it along the segment. So the endpoints will be rounded circular shapes that have that radius, and the thickness of the line will be twice the radius around the middle parts of the segment. I'll have to derive a quad from those parameters in order to submit it to the back end of my renderer. First, the center of the segment needs to be the center of the new quad, so I calculate that center point. Then I want to figure out the width and height of my quad. The width is going to be the length of the segment plus the radius of the segment on either end. And then the height will be exactly twice the radius. So the width of the quad represents the long stretched out segment. The height of the quad represents the thickness of the segment. Then with the center and those dimensions, I can get the unrotated version of my quad. Finally, to add in the rotation, I can use the vector between my two endpoints, and I have a helper here that will let me take a vector and find out what angle that vector represents, and that angle then just becomes the angle of rotation that I apply to the quad. The aliasing is still a big problem here, but it looks like this part came together pretty easily. The translation at least is working the way I would expect, and I can sketch things out with line segments. Now that I've had time to think about it, this might not be the most ideal way to create segments, given that it actually takes two transcendentals, a square root for the length, and then an inverse tangent for that angle. So just doing all that work to translate one segment into a quad seems like a lot. Maybe in the future, I could do a pass to split off the segment rendering into a separate path completely with its own shader and its own data layouts and all of that. And then I would be able to do a lot more segments and maybe anti-alias it in a different way. And I could drop the rotation feature, which might be a different path than what I had previously been thinking of doing, but that is an idea that I might want to explore as well. Next time, I'll be doing some redesign on the messy parts of the API for the render layer and the OpenGL layer. See you then.